I call a meeting to order. And Ann is gonna take some attendance, which is,
I think Zach's got that all
Zach, you
set.
got it?
I need my list back. Okay. So Patty Bashaw is virtual. Dr. Bombard.
Here.
Dr. Broderick, Dr. Bryan, Dr. Kloster, I cannot get that one. Dr. Gerlin. Yep. Dr. Cardos, Dr. Katz. Yep. Dr. Morgan, Dr. Mulvey, virtual, Dr. Pond. Dr. Richards, Dr. St. Jean, he looks like he's on there now, virtual also. Tammy Tromley,
Yeah, I'm here.
thank you, Dr. St. Jean. No Tammy, Dr. Ventry, Dr. Viscardos, and Dr. Williams.
President.
Okay,
All right. I think everybody got the minutes from the last meeting. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Yes, if you please write it down. I'm just confused. Yeah.
yeah, the virtual ones can listen, they just can't vote.
Do they count as quorum?
I have some numbers.
Well, the virtual people do not count as a quorum, unfortunately.
That's an open meeting law thing.
If they did, we would have no issues.
Legitimate reason that they can't be here, that they're, because their car's broken down or they have COVID or something?
So there are extenuating circumstances, but in order to claim those, we have to have policies and all of that stuff for that, which we don't have in place.
I think we need them for especially emergency care physicians who could be called away at any time and have to.
They consider extenuating circumstances, not necessarily be a car broken down, but like someone who's at home having to take care of a disabled loved one or something and can't get out, that type of stuff. But we would have to look further in that and possibly do policies for that, for open meeting law.
Yeah, sounds like, yeah, she's stuck at home with her, yeah, exactly, without a car, taking care of loved ones. Yes.
I have a very big car bill I could pass along if anyone wants to see it.
That sounds like a terrible. How that qualified.
All right. Can we, I think we've decided that we are a quorum. Have we not?
No, we don't.
We haven't decided.
We don't have a quorum.
All right. So we're going to temporarily pass all this stuff, and then the next meeting, we're going to say,
So
is
we
it okay
won't.
if we passed all this stuff?
So we'll just do the minutes for October next meeting.
Okay.
And was there any corrections that anybody noted so we can get them corrected?
I'll make a motion to approve the last minutes then.
Okay.
I have to abstain, I wasn't here.
All right, so we'll put that on the next agenda. All right, we don't have,
Second by Dr. Williams. Dr. Katz abstain.
All right.
Everyone else
All
in favor?
minutes? Any opposed to approving the minutes? Moving on from the minutes.
correspondence.
All right. And you got agency operating authority.
I have correspondence.
Oh, you've got correspondence. Oh, sorry.
We do have some correspondence that we received at the office. First, from the Department of Health notifying us that Saratoga Hospital has met the criteria for designation as a primary New York State Stroke Center as of September. New York City Health and Hospitals Bellevue also has met the criteria for designation as a comprehensive New York State Stroke Center. And they were approved in October of 2022. And Phelps Memorial Hospital in Sleepy Hollow, New York, has met the criteria for a thrombectomy capable New York State Stroke Center of November 1st. That is correspondence.
What's the difference between a comprehensive and a thrombectomy capable?
I thought,
I
That's-
thought
I thought
comprehensive
that's-
meant thrombectomy capable. Clearly, I don't know.
Mary, do you know?
I do not. Good thing we live a long way from there.
We're not taking anybody.
Yeah, no, I don't think
We have
anybody in
to
our
find
region
them, though.
cares. We do care about serotonin. Okay. We're
Yeah,
not
I
doing
don't-
thrombectomy and we care about that.
I don't know because I thought, as
If
you
you were
said,
comprehensive, it could be-
thrombectomy
That's what I thought, but maybe
made them
not.
comprehensive, so.
It doesn't matter. Saratoga is a stroke center. They don't do thrombectomy. Okay, moving on. Good. Any other correspondence?
No,
Okay. Agency operating authority renewals and requests.
So we can't vote on this, right?
Well, I mean, we can't even vote on the minutes.
yeah,
So I guess what we do is vote on them and then
well, it's just
ratify our vote
information.
next meeting. That way we're moving on. Unless,
Well, there's no need to vote on them, but we can discuss each one and then you guys will be aware. So if there's further paperwork that we need,
okay,
then we will be able to get that.
all right. Lead on, Ann.
So and this is gonna take care of a little of the old business. Bay Ridge, we have all of their paperwork. Basically, they are now doing business as Queensberry Ambulance. North Queensberry and Bay Ridge merged and North Queensberry has surrendered their certificate. Because the areas that they covered were one and the same. So they didn't need to apply for a new. So you'll see a new ambulance name there. Saranac Fire Department has done their renewal and received their state renewal. I do not believe we have any paperwork. Zach, correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
Paperwork.
you are correct.
Ellenberg Center Volunteer Fire Department. We do, I believe, do we have the state paperwork? No, we don't. We have the state paperwork for that. We don't have anything regionally.
They paid for
Okay, so
it.
Just so you're aware, Ellenberg has contracted for services with Morrisonville. Basically, Morrisonville is working under their CON, which they obtained from Barron's, and are covering the Ellenberg, the town of Ellenberg, the entire town of Ellenberg, which includes the center and the depot. The center and the depot are keeping their ambulances as backup, so they're not surrendering their CONs, so they will need to do paperwork if they want to remain. I think they're going back up to ALS, so I'll have to check on that again. Off the top of my head. Because it gets very confusing up there.
Yes,
Yeah,
I've
so they
spoken
did
with
this-
them, but
They did all their state renewal stuff. They just gotta send us the copies and then that one medical director form kind of thing. There's a couple little things, the insurance stuff.
Okay, I'll get in touch with them. I'll get in touch with Tori or their center and figure out what they're.
Those poor guys at Morrisonville, I've lined them up with two medical directors in a row and both of them have like slid sideways. So, and by nobody's fault, but I feel terrible.
so Ticonderoga, they have their state renewal back, but we did not receive any. We didn't receive their application. They were also part of the discussion on the change over to medical director, so they just didn't send us the stuff. Lake Placid, they're not due until the end of February. They've been notified by the state. Don't have anything on them. Morrisonville, they're not due till the end of February, so they'll just need a reminder. Morris Mills, Skylar. Is it Skylar? Am I saying Skylar Falls? Okay. Rouse's Point, the state's renewed them. We do not have any paperwork. North Country Life Flight, I just have a question mark. I really don't know. We got a narcotics update on them. I probably have to do a little, I do believe we just never got paperwork and we never addressed them at the last meeting. Is that what we decided, Zach?
Yep, that sounds right.
Okay. And Westville, Zach, I'll let you speak to them. I was busy getting them mixed up with Westport today, so.
I think
I
they're
don't
in the same boat. We got their state renewal. Scott, are they BLS only? Westville? So that might be why we didn't get the, the signed medical director form and stuff like that, because that's part of our ALS renewal. But the only thing we did get was the state cert. We never actually got any of their state paperwork. So I can reach out to them along with the other ones.
All right. So that's it. The rest of them I have under old business because we addressed them at the last meeting.
So just to confirm that then, the only agency that's really would have been set for approval today would be this new Queensbury conglomeration, which is Bay Ridge and North Queensbury. Is that correct? All the others are not ready? Is that it?
Yeah.
So we're not missing
Yeah.
out. So why don't we just have a non-binding vote then, just so, because it's easier, it'll be make a shorter discussion next time. If we say all the members agreed or disagreed, what have you with, I mean, since it's only Queensbury that's up, I'm the medical director, everything's in order as far as I'm concerned. At least we have a non-binding vote. Again, when we put that forward in the next meeting and just say all members had already approved this and it just needs to get rubber stamped hopefully at the next one.
We're not even rubber stamped, but they could have a blanket approval of this meeting based upon our redefinition of law.
Yep, we can do that as well. This makes it simpler so we don't rehash this whole thing again next time. So just for minutes, even though it's a non-binding vote, I think it's worthwhile.
Okay.
So I'll forward the motion.
Second.
So
And all in favor. So be it.
And did you have a discussion point? No, she said so twice, so I was wondering if she had something wise to say. All right,
that point's done.
any opposed? Very good.
All right, so we don't have their paperwork. Should we give others extensions until our next meeting, which is not until May, unless we decide to meet sooner?
I mean, we can't even really vote, so I guess we have to extend.
Vote, and if they're not ready for this one, so they would have automatically had to be postponed until the next meeting anyhow. I mean, generally, we would just grant them an extension. So
Okay.
again, as a non-binding vote, that would seem to be just to support the business as usual.
All right. That's it for those. The other ones are under old business.
Okay. Mary, I think you're up for your DOH report.
I have minimal information. Things are going along. The Bureau just released a new list of monthly leadership meetings. It literally came out in the last hour. Keep your eyes open for that, for anyone to sign up for those. Again, be sure that the renewals are sent electronically to both Joe Farah and myself. And that there's enough time allowed for us to process them. You know, we really need them 30 days in advance. That's about it.
Hey, Mary, just a question, and this may not be right on this section, but with ambulance taken over for Empire, is there anything that we need to have discussion or knowledge of, or is it that something that happens outside of this jurisdiction?
And
So is there the one thing we do probably have to discuss is, approval for them at the ALS Operating Authority, which is what Empire is now.
Okay,
They are an ALS entity. The person who runs the ambulance was going to be here, I'm guessing any minute now.
oh, he's gonna come?
He is
Okay,
coming
alright,
to the
okay,
meeting.
Okay,
He was meeting with St. Peter's Health Partners,
okay,
and then he was coming up here.
he was gonna come, okay, perfect, so that's.
So I think it might be better to wait.
Yeah,
You guys can drill.
okay,
We'll move forward till he's here, but
okay,
my recommendation would be that, I mean, Empire's ALS, their ALS, they will continue ALS unless this body has a reason why
well,
they
again,
should.
this is just a transfer of certificate of need, right? And that happens at a state level. It's nothing we have any say in or need to have any say in. Is that correct? The reps go decide that. I see. Okay, thank you.
Basically, as long as the fitness and competency is determined valid, which it was.
Yeah, okay. It's just a approval. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Remo, just so you know, Remo did transfer it down to that hand.
Okay.
It's one where they crossed to
Yeah,
Remsdale.
got it.
One non sequitur, are pre-hospital providers still able to function inside the hospitals? Is that still an executive order or has that run out?
That executive order, I believe, is still in effect. And there are prolonged wait times, and our office is very much aware of those.
Super. Right. Patty Bayshaw, Education Committee report. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was muted. We did meet, I don't know, I can't really remember, but we did meet not too long ago. We had a couple of issues come up that we've dealt with. So other than that, there's no report.
Program agency reports.
Can you pull the PowerPoint up, Zach? I can't on my computer without losing everything.
Yes, let's see what I can come up with. Oh,
I'm gonna have to start printing these and sending them in an outline instead, because with this situation, I don't know that bringing stuff on the screen is conducive to everything, but we'll see.
how'd that come out over there?
Good.
Pretty good.
Okay, if you want to flick through, talk to the ones or send you to talk to them. So we've been diligently working with agencies. We're due to send out a reminder for the medical director changes to Dr. Mulvey. As you can see, we have a couple that have sent us paperwork that they were partially complete. We've sent them back. We haven't received them back. And Dr. Williams, since you're here, so Hague, we found an.
That one, I don't know if you saw.
Huh?
Hey, I don't know if you saw, I had copies of their stuff, so I got all that, so they're all set.
Oh, you did get that, okay.
Yeah.
Disregard, we got that. Apparently a pre-change never got the paperwork, so it sounds like they did send it in. Because they still had, what was the doctor before, Zach?
Dr. Clough. Yeah, no, it was Dr. Weisman, sorry. Well, yeah, but it was even before her, Klaus, yeah. And it was DeMiro before that.
So, oh, I see, yep, the paperwork's been received, so. You know, we have some that we haven't heard from at all, again. We will, follow up again on them. So, Westport, Westport's been back and forth as to whether they were going to continue as ALS because they're or critical care level because their one provider is kind of retiring. And they were initially going to drop to BLS, then that changed to AEMT. And then like New Year's Day or New Year's Eve day, it changed to they're staying critical care. So I have the majority of their paperwork. I might be missing a couple things, but hopefully we'll get that sent into the state soon. Any questions on those?
I've signed all of these, from what I can tell, everybody's paperwork on my end. So it's probably just hopefully shuffling through.
Yeah, it just hasn't come to our office, so I don't know if they've sent it all directly to the state or what they've done. So,
Essex County and Mariah you'll have tomorrow. I got the last number I needed on Friday, so those will be fixed
Okay.
and sent out.
great.
So,
Awesome.
so I guess then, fresh me, this paperwork for the state goes to you first and you send it to the state? Because agencies in Clinton County have been sending it directly to the state.
They send it to the state, but we've asked them to copy us, so,
Okay.
right? So medical director changes should be approved at the REMAC, right, like this was? But we really should have a copy of that paperwork on file. Just like the renewal packets.
Right.
And that's what happens with the renewal packets is they fill out the paperwork and send it right to the state and then, you know, we get the certificate back from the state because the state adds us in the email and they send it out, but then we never see anything. So, and that's what a lot of the ones that are now is we've gotten the state certs, but not, you know, they're just not adding us to the email basically when they send in their stuff, so.
And I do believe for the renewals that, for the renewals specifically, that Mountain Lakes requires a couple extra forms outside of the state stuff.
Yep, there's like one extra signed form and then it like copies of your insurance documents, copies of your coverage schedule for the last couple months. And then I think there's like one other little thing.
So, all right, so Zach's gonna talk a little bit about the green locks survey. Everybody familiar with what the green locks are on the ambulances?
So we got, it had been about a year. We were using the green and the gold. It had been about a year since we had discontinued the gold locks. So we figured we'd put out a survey kind of thing for the green locks. And this was just 47 agencies actually responded. I can send it out to you guys with more detailed responses and stuff. I didn't get to go through all the comment sections, but these were like the pick options. And most of them are bringing their own equipment when they're doing intercepts and vice versa when they're getting intercepts. Most of the incoming people are, that one's kind of a mix of bringing their own equipment and accessing, using the green locks. So they're definitely used. It'll take a little bit more looking into the data, but some initials.
So,
Laura, are you familiar with the green and gold lock thing?
Not at all.
Laura?
Beautiful. And can you just walk,
Yeah.
or Zach, can you just walk us through?
So the whole reason behind this survey
There's
is,
literally locks, like they're literally little padlocks that go on the ALS bags and the ALS equipment in the ambulances, and they have literal keys, like old school. Okay.
and so it means that if I got on an ambulance in Essex County and had a key, I could, you know, help out and do ALS. So everybody has the same locks. So for me coming in, because locks are a cost, locks are something that we have to manage, keys are something that we have to manage. And my understanding is that, right, the gold locks, because you can't share keys for narcotics, that's a big problem. Mario attests to that. I have a couple issues with having standard issue green locks, but they're my issues and I'm okay either way. But first, if you're providing an ALS intercept, you should have your own equipment. Because you've checked that decreases your liability, but you really should probably have access to narcotics. Which you do not have if you don't bring your own. So, again, I am not one way or the other, we don't issue that many of them. We wanted a better understanding of whether people were using them or not. Because the green locks, because why are we doing something that nobody's using?
Well, I will tell you how we use the green locks in Clinton County. So it's simple. You know, you open the main cabinet, which gives you access to intubation equipment, the main drug box, not narcotics. Intubation equipment, drugs, whatever else is locked up in there. And it's been a while, so I've delved through those cabinets for a long time, but everything but narcotics is controlled by the green lock that is ALS, so that other people, so your IV equipment might or might not be locked up. I think most of it is. And then if you need narcotics, you have to bring your own, because that's what the state was to do. So that's why we switched to our own. Every agency has their own narcotic system now, separate from the rest of the group. Which is fine, but it still gives you access to like IV and intubation and drugs, the main drugs, cardiac drugs like the aspirin and stuff like that. Not that's not the basic drugs, but there are some drugs that are not in the basic. So it gives them access to those drugs without having to carry their own. And I will tell you, transferring equipment from one ambulance to another, it's all well and good to say you're going to do this, but you take a cardiac monitor, a drug box, your intubation roll, and your bag, and I won't make it on the ambulance.
Do it all the time. Again,
There's
can.
financial implication too, because the transporting agency, typically the billing agency, so using the transporting agency's equipment makes sense if they're the one dropping the charges, narcotics aside. So I think there's, more than one argument, both from a practicality of having to move equipment, but also fiscally to maintain the system.
yeah, so we just wanted an idea. And like I said, I have my own opinions of it. It's a liability for me using somebody else's equipment that hasn't been checked, because I know I check my, I can't guarantee it's been checked or not. I check my own equipment. My expiration dates, all that. I don't want to be the one that gets my card hung up because somebody never replaced all the expired drugs in the ambulance and I need them. But that's just me. And I told you that we just wanted to get more information. So moving on.
All right. Laura, did that make sense? How it works?
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah.
All the ALS providers have a key. The key
Yeah.
fits everybody else's stuff. Which there are pluses and minuses to.
There
Anne
is.
points out, like, if you show up and you don't use your own stuff, you're not sure of the stuff you're using. On the other hand, like, if Anne visits these agencies, and if she's visiting someday and they don't have an ALS provider and she happens to have her keys, she can check their stuff.
I don't have
Right.
keys. I haven't been issued
Well,
keys.
what if I'm on the road and
So
stop
we
at a
should
key,
issue you some keys.
and
Just sit,
I'm the
right?
one that winds up transporting because everybody else is busy?
And so
And I don't have access to the ALS equipment because that becomes a problem for the patient, not for me, obviously, but it becomes a problem for the patient.
And that's how
Then
this
is not gonna get ALS care. And I could have sent them to ALS.
But it could
It's such
provide
a
a
rural
problem for you.
region.
But if I didn't have the corporate stuff.
Yeah.
I'd have to be on my spot.
But I have keys. Laura, you should have keys, right? Like if you stop somewhere and want to help somebody out, they don't have any else provider, there's no reason you can't get into their stuff. Not their narcotics, obviously, but all the rest, all the rest of their stuff, it's pretty useful stuff. So it's a nice, although antiquated system that seems to still work.
Is there a requirement that medication under law?
You're supposed to have the stuff locked up, yes. And the VLS medication also aren't supposed to be easily accessible to the public.
I think he asked about
Do we have to lock it up?
Did you ask if we had to lock it up? We couldn't, it was a little broken.
Yes. And the answer is yes, it has to be locked in.
So,
All right, cool.
so annual CMEs, we've only a few received. They're due by January 31st. And make sure they're submitted to the FDRHPO. Paperwork at FDRHPO.org. Hopefully we get more, moving forward.
Is there a way I
Go
can
for
see
it,
whether
so-
my babies are out?
Only a few years have come from me. And I filled in Zach. So Zach,
We
did
could
you
do-
get, do you go on the paper portal anymore to look for stuff?
I haven't in a
like-
while. I saw that you've sent a few things over,
It's a bunch of stuff from there.
but
Yeah.
I can make a note and actually go in and do it.
So we are manually tracking them this time. Only because we obviously have not agreed to use our online CME system to its full functionality as of yet. So we are manually tracking them and we will have a spreadsheet. I will tell you that, you know, some have come in. So we only know ones that have come in and have recorded, but we're a little behind in the email because we've had to pick out and credential all of the incoming providers for the World Games.
Yeah.
And with vacations, holidays, and I was sick right before
It's
Christmas.
gotta be a lot.
We are a little behind. That's why you know, I hope this never happens again when you get the agenda the night before, because that's just wrong. But I can do
It
it.
would be lovely as a medical director to be able to check that, and like, once we're up and running and on the site, like, I'd like to be able to access that and see what my people
So,
for someday.
Zach, so do we have a list of ALS providers out there somewhere?
Yeah,
we do.
whether they're all currently and actively participating, I wouldn't know. But yes, we do have a current.
Can you
list.
send me just Clinton County's list?
Yep.
So that I can,
And so
if you
it's
can break it
kind of
out, where you can send me the whole thing.
So
Yeah.
right now as we're trying to get people registered in the system, we're double doing all our work, which that really needs to stop. But we're trying to make sure through this transition that everybody they had recorded on the ALS tech database, and again, ALS, we're in our system. In our system, we're credentialing everybody because we should care about basics, because as a REMAC, it's your obligation to credential them for the adjuncts, such as albuterol, Narcan, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that I would assume you had an agreement, or which is part of the state policy statement, is that they have annual training. And, you know, we don't necessarily have any proof of that. So, but irregardless, we'll get them in the system. Secondly, it's good to be able to track who our providers are, just from administrative, especially for our county folks, wanting to know how many people are in their system or going out of the system overall. So we are going to kind of be making it a priority as we get caught up and get through these World Games to make sure that we're reaching out to these agencies and say, look, we have 10 providers in this agency. Here's the list of them. Who in your agency is not registered? Or who do we need to remove? Which usually the database gets cleaned up when the CMEs are due. Right, so twice a year in the North Countryside, it'll be once a year here. So, does that make sense?
Also along this line, as providers are sending in their annual CMEs, if they aren't in the online database, I've been manually adding them in. So it's taken a little bit longer, but just to make sure that we are getting people in. There's a good number that haven't signed up yet. Also, make sure you send in cards, copies of your BLS, ACLS, PALS. A lot are missing, but I think that's about it for annual statements that I have.
And just speaking of which I'll just throw out there for future discussion, we have a policy statement that says the REMAC will only accept AHA, ACLS, PALS and CPR, and that we cannot do that.
We haven't had a house class in a long time, so everyone's called. It's got. There's 3 or 4 hours.
I was just saying, we can't specify it's AHA. We can require ACLS, PALS and CPR.
Right, you just can't require it.
We can't specify AHA. Because
State doesn't.
Not that I care,
do
but-
that. My state policies.
it's one of those, because we have, honestly, we'd have a conflict with that. Mountain Lakes would have a conflict with that because Mountain Lakes is an AHA center.
Can we
So-
specify that ACLS and PALS have to have a hands-on component?
You can,
You can. Do that.
You can
So we'll
specify
have to
and
look
or
at
its
that.
equivalent.
AHA and or its equivalent, we just can't limit them because ASHE has,
Because there's a ton of fly-by-night ACLS that you like answer some questions online, not a ton, but there's 1 or 2, at least you answer a bunch of questions online and they print you a card.
so,
We don't really, that's useless.
right, but and we can refer the state, just put a policy statement out on this, but it would be the same that's accepted by the state, which,
The state has a policy.
That's what I was saying.
yeah, it just came out.
Refer to state policy.
Yeah, I would take it on the state.
Yeah, so that's just a policy we have to review, and I just figured I'd have that conversation here.
All right, I'll stick that under my to-do standard operating procedure thing.
Yeah, so as a REMAC, we cannot recommend any one company or brand name. For example, we have to say flexible stretcher instead of a reed stretcher. Right, and that has to do with all your kickback law, your anti-kickback laws and all that stuff. That's a legal thing. I did virtually attend the RTAC. Albany Medical Center will be getting their level 1 verification for ped trauma in February, or they're hoping for that. They're having their, oh my goodness, whatever, where they come through to accredit them, their survey, site survey. And then their site survey for the adult trauma re-verification will be the end of March. They're really looking at the transfer center process. They went over a couple different cases. Where it took a while, where the patient took a long time to get there. So they're encouraging transferring facilities to call earlier when they need to transfer.
Oh, God, that's not the problem.
Obviously, getting transportation is a problem and was discussed as well, so. Go ahead. So I tiered this back up here just as a reminder, our agencies need to be in the health commerce system. And they did get a couple of their quirks worked out of it from 2211. So if you are in the health, from policy statement 2211, if you are in the health commerce system already, you can add your profession and be able to print your own digital card and certified instructor coordinator. But we found out that they can't make program agencies, they can't give program agencies the permissions to allow agency leadership to put their own people in. So that means that the program agency would then have to verify every single provider that wanted to be in the HCS. And no, we're not doing that right now. So they're back to the drawing board on that. So moving on to the next, the pediatric survey.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, in my
I have this
report.
on my thing, but that's okay.
Oh, this is my program agency report.
Oh, okay. I just have the BLS 12 lead union link.
Yeah, there was a pediatric survey sent out to all agency leadership. Please encourage agencies to do this. Please encourage agencies to answer truthfully, because this is how we get funding for programs at the, state/federal, from the federal level, I believe. Mary can correct me if I'm wrong. But it's very, very, very important that folks do that. And also, if they don't have a pediatric emergency care coordinator, they should, and they can contact the state directly on their site to
How much longer is
register
that?
for that.
What's the time frame for the respondents?
Oh, there's not long for the survey, right? What's it, how long for that survey, Mary? Like 2 months, I think.
Usually,
if
yeah,
that,
usually, so I'm guessing the end of February at most. I'm not 100% sure.
And it should be, usually the way it works is once you log in, if your agency's still on the list, then you haven't completed it.
Give me a second, I think I have it.
Yeah, I have to look at that. I don't have it right off the top of my head.
Hang on, stand by.
And one of the other things I know that they're doing is they actually, I think, talked about this at the RTAC too. That every hospital has a pediatric emergency care coordinator as well.
Really?
Yes,
That is,
they're working on trying to encourage hospitals to have that. I can send out,
I can send you the survey right now, you guys, if you want. It doesn't say an end date.
and then, I think it's a, so you only have like a month
Yeah.
to get involved then. So it's gonna be sometime in February.
so I don't know that it had an exact end date when we got it, so, okay, next. So our learning management system, we've purchased it. We're in the process of customizing it, and we are actually gonna do some system tests internally. And with a couple outside organizations to hopefully be able to, have some choices for providers for their better education choices for online education management, for their renewals, etc. Next. Just throwing that out there, again, to ensure everybody's aware of what's going on in trainings. We encourage everybody to sign up for our weekly newsletter and director's newsletter. We actually pop that to the top of our website so people would see it a little better. But again, when somebody calls me and says, well, there's no training opportunities, we send out 3 to 5 every week. Many are virtual. So. Next. So our annual conference in Alexandria Bay will be going on the 27th to the 29th. Surviving and Thriving When Words Count, which will be an EMS financial management class. There'll be 2 sessions. They will be hybrid, so there'll be an in-person as well as a virtual component to that. So we have announcements coming out for that soon. And then we're working with our area health education centers. And we're looking at doing a leadership conference for EMS in the Lake George area. And May 13th is the tentative date for that. Next. Those are the PAD reports we've received and uses. Go ahead, Zach, this one's yours.
Nothing really exciting there. Still the Glens Falls Hospital report. The state just moved the date back for some of their updates that are coming up, but other than that, that's about it.
All right, and again, we're working to get the contract. That's all set. That was the same thing I did last time. I forgot to take it out. So we don't have, the Remsco doesn't have a contract yet with the state. We're working on it hopefully soon. There's your next state EMS meetings. And I apologize, I copied and pasted from the website, so they're listed. Soonest is at the bottom, so February 7th and 8th. But they have them all scheduled out this year, so that will be helpful for planning. I am participating in the state quality metrics tag as well as the legislative committee which is where we are having, we have a work group set out to look at open meetings laws and reach out to other entities that might feel the same way we do about open meeting law and see if we can make any movement there. Next.
The next one is, oh, if I hit the right button. Next one is kind of me. We kind of already talked about them except for these top three, Owl's Head, Shazy, and Plattsburgh. And they were extensions from October. All three of them have submitted their paperwork, so they are technically all set also. Not that we need to vote on them, but those are good. So they'll be at the next meeting. And that's about it.
Now, there's two other things that I didn't get in the PowerPoint, so. We have received BLS 12 lead applications from Indian Lake and Ticonderoga. They were in the packet that I sent out. If somebody wants to look at those. And then we also received an application for Indian Lake to do the iGel demo project. So just kind of a heads up where that's at, where apparently the region that's doing the Hudson Mohawk, I believe it is, that's doing the demo project, has put their application out on their website. So some agencies are starting to fill it out, and then we have to approve them as a REMAC. Not we, you as a REMAC have to approve them. So that might be something that as this moves forward, there's a motion that allows the chair to move forward with them versus hold them up to a meeting. Or we just do an overall, we support agencies participating in this. When we do have another meeting, but they're still waiting for the education to be put up on the New York State Vital Signs Academy. And they're waiting for the policy statement regarding this to come out from the state. So that's where they are.
REMAC repeatedly.
It has.
It keeps coming up and we keep saying yes.
I don't know if it's, I'm assuming it's approved at the commissioner level.
Maybe
So, Mary, do you know anything at the bureau level? Because that seems to be where we're waiting for stuff.
I do not.
I thought it was hung up at the commissioner level was the last time I heard. But maybe it's not now that they're accepting applications, so that's great. How do you guys feel about that? Do you want to vote on people doing iGel plus or minus people doing BLS 12 lead, or you want me to just approve them, or what do you want to do?
My personal feeling is if the agency is going to meet the educational requirements, we should be able to just approve them offhand.
I think one of the submission requirements is something from the medical director, from the agency.
So yeah, so I have Indian Lake and I signed off on the 12 lead and the iGel for their applications, but.
Maybe what we say is we need to hear from the medical director of the agency in some way or shape or form. That could even be an email as far as I'm concerned.
Well, if
We
they
just
sign-
want to we want to know that they're in the loop.
But the medical
Right.
director signed off on the application, it's a requirement.
Oh, so it's in the application itself. Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. Sorry, so louder and slower.
So, I mean, it's just a matter of if you're comfortable with, us coordinating with Dr. Bombard to sign them off, because you've already seen it at the agency level. But we can work on that as it moves forward, because they can't do anything else yet anyways. This has got, anyhow.
Seems easy either way.
Any questions for us as your program agency?
There's a comment.
What was that?
Old one from Patty. Yeah. You froze on our screen, so you look funny, but we can hear what you're saying still.
I look funny anyways. I'm good with that. So, QA/QI reports. Do we have any? Oh, sorry, that's your
No,
part.
just
Sorry.
keep running it, girl. Got it.
No, Horton County So Clinton County is gonna move to a quarterly meeting because of the way we're collecting data now. So, we will not meet again until, hopefully I get back in March, I think we meet. Just good, and then maybe by then we'll have some interesting data. Some of the agencies are working on breaking down their data so that they have a better handle on what exactly we're doing, whether we're really giving aspirin and doing what we're supposed to be doing for people, or we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing for people. So we set a list of goals, mostly whether state quality data goals, and we'll see where we fall by the time we get done. I don't know, it's a work in progress. Always working.
ECH. Bruce? Or who does
Yeah,
that one?
so Aaron Barney, who's who's been our coordinator, has been in the fire academy of city of Glens Falls for the last few months. He's done now, he's graduated, and I just met with him last week, so we could kind of get things re-engaged. And he's gonna set up a meeting with Dr. Mulvey so we can kind of look at what direction we want to take. So we're in the rebuilding process as well.
Alice Hyde?
We've been meeting in a variety of different issues, a lot of different medical cases. So we've been meeting regularly and
North Country Group?
We continue to meet pretty much monthly, usually take 1 month off in the winter, 1 month in summer, but yeah, everything's going well, active participation.
Glens Falls?
Next meeting's gonna take a couple of weeks.
Oops, I'm sorry, he broke up.
Our next meeting is in about 2 weeks.
Thank you, sorry. Tri Lakes, Zach, you had a note to add them?
Yeah, I think we wanted to start getting them back up again, I think is where we were at. Dr. Bombard, do you remember? I think you had sent the email after the last meeting.
Yeah, I think the idea was to try and get Diana on board, and she's again not here, so I'll call her again. She's really sort of the last man standing over there.
Yeah, I didn't even know where it was, so.
Sort of the largely Saranac Lake group, and it sort of started and then it fizzled and we haven't heard anything in a long time.
All right, so the CMAC report?
I did not go to the CMAC, I apologize. I will give you a little synopsis from Mike McAvoy's notes, but it didn't sound like there were any big moves. EMSC is looking for an instructor to help with training for the new behavioral emergencies protocol. If anybody's interested in helping with that, let me know and I'll give you the link. There's an interesting Matters network. Have you guys heard about this a little bit? So it's mostly in the western part of the state, but it seems like something that we could get fired up anywhere if we so choose. And what they've got is an addiction referral app, and the app allows pre-hospital providers to help facilitate appointments with local behavioral health. So, i.e., like we do, naloxone wake up, and we feel like this is the tender moment, and maybe this is the time that we could get this person in like a buprenorphine program sort of thing. We could actually, from the field, because these people don't like to come to the hospital, right? We could, from the field, make them a referral to local behavioral health services. So if you're interested in getting involved in something like that, let me know, and we'll see if we can get it fired up.
So just on that note, we did have an extra, from the North Country perspective, we had a meeting with them just because we wanted to know, like, if they do these referrals, do they have any local clinics these people can go to? And the answer to that is no right now, but they're working on it. So
Yeah,
I
there's- when you
don't,
look at the app, there's nothing in the East.
I don't believe there's anything, but the one girl that helps coordinate it, and this is through the behavioral health part of FDRHPO. The girl that is actually on the Matters side helping coordinate on this side is from Plattsburgh.
Cool.
So, they're going to be working and, you know, we may be reaching out at some point to look for contacts. So. They're
Thank you. If
slowly,
this is an issue close to your heart, let us know and maybe we can help you get into this
Yeah.
process, because we'd love to have some people that are enthusiastic.
yep,
Yeah, we started that at Glens Falls Hospital, so, for about the past 6 months or so, we've been using their referral network and getting patients registered, so. I don't know if are you working with Heather Lampmon? That's my contact at Matters, I don't know who you're working with, but she is very helpful and very responsive and very eager to get these networks expanded, so, yeah, they're great.
my name doesn't sound familiar, but my notes are at home.
Yeah.
And, you know, sitting in community service boards, so I could talk to Rochelle and see what she's got, and what their process is for getting people referred. Well, it might be a way to look at it from our.
It's a neat idea, and I think it's, you know, if you change one life in 1,000, is it enough?
Yeah,
maybe.
so you know, you have to
Right?
write this guy,
If it's your kid, it's enough,
all this number, or your appointment is
something.
Right,
here, and this is where it is.
if they could
You know,
hook up
you have
with
it
this.
pre-printed and You have it pre-printed, this is the phone number, this is where you're going, show up there at whatever time. The biggest problem, I think, is transportation in
I think
Plattsburgh,
it's a big problem.
but you know, if you're dormitory drive, it's okay, because it's just around the corner.
It's a problem, but it is a problem, one problem at a time.
That's right.
All right.
Okay,
That's all I've got from Mike's CMAC report. It didn't sound like there was a lot else from listening to people. So. Unless
A
somebody
lot
else
of it
knows.
on education, like they're not going to do the new practical skills
That's not REMAC material. Right?
no.
These guys are
until 2024. So,
2024 now.
Yes. Yep.
okay. We're just about to the end.
So the old, there's on the back, there's some.
Oh, there are some on the back.
So under the old business, I think we talked about everything.
We can talk about RSI.
No, on the front here.
Okay.
Westport, under old business on the front, Westport and BLSFR. And we received their BLSFR update. They've been updated by the state. We had previously had them on hold. So. The next one is, were you guys able to get in that link and look at anything that I had sent? And I know it was late, so I certainly understand. There was a link in with the agenda. That had the information, but we can't vote on it anyway, so I'll just talk about it. So one of the things that we hear a lot is, we've gotten a lot of phone calls. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, he's bringing it up. I'm like, oh my God, we lost the thing. We've got a lot of, phone calls where we have providers that routinely and regularly work in both the North Country region and the Mountain Lakes region. You can scroll right down to the last couple of paragraphs, Zach. So what I would like to propose is that we do a reciprocal agreement with North Country REMAC, and I haven't proposed this to them yet. North Country does hold this with a couple other regions, the same contract that was vetted by a lawyer back in the day. But basically it says, you know, we'll use the same protocols. That's about the first 3 or 4 paragraphs on it, which we are now all on the same collaborative protocols. So it's kind of old news. But basically, when we talk about CMEs, that it would allow the providers to do their CMEs in one region and be accepted in the other region. That's the gist of it. So in that folder, I also put in there the requirements for North Country so that you would be familiar with them. But just as a review, in the North Country, I do believe they require double the didactic time that, Mountain Lakes does.
Oh, yeah, yes, I can.
You don't have to show the CME sheet. I can just talk about it because none of this is gonna get approved. But I want questions asked so I can address them if possible, So this will make it easier for the providers who work routinely and regularly. The other thing with this agreement is with those providers, again, if there's any QA or QI issues, they would go to the respective REMAC of the agency that they're working for, not the other. So that's the basis of the agreement. North Country for Skills requires.
Two things, Ann, on this. One, for the offline medical control, I think we should update the language to reference the collaborative protocols, just in case one of the agencies has a one-off policy from their medical director that's not part of the collaborative protocols. We don't want those crossing over. And then Mary brought up a really good idea that we should probably include the Capital District REMO in this as well, because of our shared providers in this region there.
I thought we already approved the remote providers reciprocity. I thought we did that forever ago.
I was told
Oh.
once upon a time, I don't know if your CMEs overlap, I wouldn't, but I know there was some reciprocity sometime.
Yeah, I thought we did that already.
But this refers to our CMEs. So basically, now that we share the same database, if we use that database and we put them in there, so if I work at Franklin County Ambulance Service and Messina Ambulance Service in the North Country, which I pick one as a primary agency. So when I do my CMEs in Messina, Franklin County Ambulance Service can see that I've done them. That is what is so great about our electronic system. So it really saves a lot of grief for our providers, and they encourage them, right? It's kind of frustrating when in the North Country, they do skills every 6 months. And then they have to turn around and do another whole set of skills, in the other region at the end of the year. So again, the process, they have to do them by scenario. But what we do is break down the skills by semester. And keep in mind, we have to remove intubation for AEMT. I do have to update these, but our REMAC has not met. So adult medical, they do IV, pacing, cardioversion, defib, med administration, and then pediatric trauma, IO, and intubation. And in the second semester, they do a scenario with IO, IV, ET, chest decompression. Paramedics have to do a surgical airway, and then pediatric IV, med admin, and defib.
Now, you have defibrillation under AEMT. Are you just talking in AED?
Yep.
Because that's all they're allowed to do.
Yeah.
Which is different than.
Yep. They start
As long as
knowing how to do it.
I'm clear that that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a defib, however, they defib,
However, they would do.
which is a,
So your P and your CC would use a monitor, but you're.
correct, but some AEMTs use a monitor in the AED mode.
That's true.
Just to keep you on your toes. So that's what's required as far as didactic hours. I do believe, each level, our paramedics have to have 24 total hours in the year, with 10 of them being done. Or 12 of them being done in the first half. And then 20 for our critical cares and 10 for our AEMTs. And we actually even require our ALS, which I didn't put that in there. It doesn't have to, because you don't have to over here. Our BLS providers have annual skills.
And who did use skills after the CLI or CIC like that?
You would follow your regional process. So in the North Country, we have agencies who, because they have to be done scenario based. We have agencies that are approved to be CME evaluator agencies, and they have proven to us that they have the equipment to do all this. We approve the sessions as they're scheduled, because they can do them anytime through the year. So they schedule a session and tell us who the instructor is going to be, and it has to be somebody with instructor credentials. But we also kind of hone out a little, and we allow ACLS instructors, even if they're not a CIC or a CLI, we allow ACLS instructors to do it, you know, or HA instructors with ACLS. So we approve the session and the evaluator kind of each time based on their credentials. So.
And if they have the snow in the field, I can still.
We don't do that at all.
Yeah.
Even if they do it in the field, they still have to do their skills. And you know, they need to do their skills. So it's just basically saying that, you know, and I think it might be a harder sell the other way, because I don't think the mountain lakes are as.
Very. We can make it easy.
Well, initially, from my eyes, it's double the CME hours for a paramedic anyway, because Mountain Lakes is right now only 12 hours. So that's the biggest eye-catching thing, that, and then not being able to use calls for getting their skills in would be the other big change. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward.
Looking to change,
We're
we're not
not,
looking to change our skills. We're just looking to approve the people that have done these skills to work in our region without redoing them.
yes, so basically, the Mountain Lakes would approve people who have done those skills in the North Country to work in their region without having to do a whole second set of skills in the.
Because right now they're doing their skills for North Country, and then they're coming over and doing our skills for
Mountain Lakes.
So they're not necessarily double doing the skills, but they're double doing their paperwork, which they probably don't need to do. And then we can talk about skills in another paragraph.
Yeah, I'm not looking to change them at this point. I'm saying, I haven't sold this to North Country yet, and they may, that I have to take this to the North Country REMAC.
That's.
Any other questions?
Beneficial, because we would be gaining providers that are doing already more annual skills than we have. So I think it's good.
Seems fine.
Seems like a plan.
All right. Something
right.
else to approve next meeting. I can't imagine how anyone would do that.
All right, so RSI,
Our side, Bruce, any update as far as getting CME for, I know you've been underwater.
Yeah, I really haven't had a chance to get after it. You know, really, it's a conversation I have to have with the state regarding a course ID number with it, which I had. The education branch wasn't real keen on it, but it doesn't sound like they're not completely opposed to it either. So when I have a little more time.
Keep it on your,
Yeah.
yeah, keep it on your list of things to do if you would for us, and we'll
It
try
is.
and keep forward a little bit. That'd be awesome. Okay. Are we at the bottom of our list?
so we did want to have a discussion. Do you want to get rid of that, Zach, that's on the screen, please?
Yeah. I'll just
So-
okay.
You can yeah, there we go. It's easier to see without the stuff on the screen. So there was a discussion regarding, conflict of interest, or we should have a discussion, I should say. So basically it was understanding, what it means by arrangement. And I think one good thing that, like we discussed, is if you own an AHA center, you really shouldn't have a policy that makes everybody go to your AHA center because that's a conflict of interest. So again, a conflict of interest is not really a bad thing. It just means like if certain things come up, you may not vote on them. So basically, if you're on an advisory board, you know, and again, you're do something that you think you're gonna get a lot of money for, and it's really more the money portion of it, right, then you probably have a conflict. I'm not 100% sure what they meant by arrangement in the conflict of interest form when they wrote it, so maybe some historians with Mountain Lakes can fill me in, because I couldn't really answer that question.
Where did this come from then?
So we had a member that had the question about it,
About what is a conflict of interest?
about, so
Yeah,
the
no,
question
so
was.
I sent the question out. I mean, we had this long legal document that we're just supposed to sign and say everything's fine, right? But, and declaring our conflicts of interest. But if we don't know whether we have a conflict of interest or not, we can't sign the form, really. And so understanding what the scope or sphere of practice or influence of the REMAC is important. And just to say, we declare that we have no conflicts with any agreement or arrangement that the REMAC has. I don't know what that means. I can't sign that. So that's the only issue that I had with it. I can't declare any conflicts of interest because I don't know what interests the REMAC has. And it doesn't sound like the REMAC know either.
I think we do.
Read the first statement. Isn't there something there about if you obtain money or something like that? But that's a conflict. That's a pure conflict of interest. If you obtain, I can't remember how it reads, and I didn't print that piece of it, in all honesty.
That's what I'm trying to see.
Yeah.
I don't think we're doing anything that makes any money at this point, so we're thinking about where.
Well, I realize that, and I mean, maybe it's just a case of simplifying something. I mean, signing off legal documents, which we don't really know what they mean, that was just really my kind of concern, right? And I mean, yeah, I mean, as a medical director, if you get paid as a medical director, is that a conflict of interest? You know, I mean, technically you're voting on issues which could, you know, and I think 90% of people on this body are paid medical directors.
90% of the people that show up anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
So if you're a paid medical director, I would then declare that, so.
But only on votes that occurred for your agencies,
Correct,
but only for
Right,
votes for your
right.
agency. So
Right.
that would be the conflict.
right, or if you,
Understood, but the conflict of interest agreement form, which we're signing, doesn't stipulate any of this, and that's all. Maybe we just need a simpler form, which is not legalese, which just kind of, and just clearly defines what a conflict of interest is and the general applicability to this body in general everyday language, and it might just be easier for us. I just don't think
Okay.
the
Yeah,
current form is valid, because nobody really knows what it is.
well, I can probably get, but you know, right now,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't need it right now, but maybe
Yeah,
there's
to
a
do
simpler form.
I
Yeah,
know, I was just, unfortunately, you have to have all that stuff in there to meet not-for-profit law. So it will probably take us working with a lawyer to simplify that down, of which I'm not sure we can do right at the moment,
I'm not sure we can either.
because we have no money to pay a lawyer, but.
just here, sign this, yeah, right, but then,
I
but
would
then, I mean, just on the other side, then, you know, the medical directors would need a lawyer each to really understand that conflict of interest thing. I mean, you know, I'm sorry if it sounds a little picky, but, you know, it's easy just to hand a form and just say, hey, sign this. Well, I've kind of done that before and it's become problematic, not in conflicts of interest, but in, you know, just signing legal forms.
I'll see what
And
I
there's no
can,
rush on this. This is something that, you know, we don't have to do
Yes.
it now, obviously, but just so we know what
do
we're
some-
doing.
it hasn't been at the top of the priority list, trying to
Of
get
course
that.
not, and I expect it to be. There's plenty other things which have priorities, so I just, you know, this is down the road stuff, but it might be good so we all would understand it, that's all. Thanks.
So
Just for that, Doug, we'll kick you off and then we really won't have a quorum.
Yeah, then you're problem solved. Yeah, he wants to stay on the.
That, please don't go. Not so easy there. So one thing that'll be, I do believe, going to the REMSCO tonight for approval. I don't even see it on the agenda, but make sure we do it, is gonna be the whistleblower form, which is another not-for-profit thing that we have to have. And basically, I know what that means, that if somebody blows the whistle, that we don't retaliate on them and kick them off. So that's up and coming. That's it.
Right. Are we at the end?
New business.
If we are, I have a request for Zach. But if we're not, then.
So just to verify, I just want to make sure that we decided, I mean, that we'll let, and if that CON transfers tonight, that they should continue at the level of care the CON is.
I mean, as much as a vote means today.
Well, I mean, I just want to verify that everybody's okay with that.
So why don't you discuss the transfer, just so everybody's on board?
So tonight at the REMSCO meeting, Empire Ambulance, who does Troy Ambulance, who does business as Empire Ambulance, I think I got that right, is transferring their certificate of need to Ambulance New York LLC. So they've done all the right paperwork. We have all the stuff. They have fitness and competencies that all the officers are submitted to the state. They've come back that they are good. So now tonight is just the CON vote. With a transfer of operating authority, you can't really say no unless there's a problem with those F and Cs. So they would basically, it's Empire's operations, the name will change to ambulance, and they'll be operating the service in those areas that Empire currently serves now.
They're gonna be at John Broderick Agency?
And-
Is that what I was hearing?
Yes. And there'll be a Dr. Broderick Agency. So,
I guess so advised, right? There's nothing we can,
okay, I mean, and that's,
we can't vote. There's
that's
nothing
okay,
we
so
can say
advised
about it
that
anyway,
they'll
so I
stay
guess
at
now we
the
know.
ALS level until we decide
We're gonna-
otherwise. If everybody's good with that, I'm good with that.
Well, we haven't really seen anything to justify it or not justify it, so we don't really know, right?
Right.
We're just
Right.
assuming on their word that they're coming in with, I mean, I know they're a big company. It just seems like this is just informational at the moment because we don't really have much to do a decision on.
I mean, the
Well,
links,
medical director
the
submitted,
link,
and it's already approved by the REMAC.
Yeah.
We have the whole CON application. We have that whole huge.
Yeah, okay, but we don't decide whether the CON gets approved or transferred or anything, right? That's not for us to
No.
decide. And we just have to approve that ALS operating capacity, but we have no knowledge of whether they have ability to operate at an ALS level. Am I understanding that correct?
They operate in multiple other areas
Okay.
at the ALS level.
Okay, so, all right.
Basically from
They're all over the whole state, basically, yeah.
Kingston north.
Okay. All right.
yeah,
Yeah, it does beg the question, why are we even voting on it?
Yeah, so there's nothing necessarily to vote on, right? We're just taking their word for it. And we'll grant them immunity for a while, I guess.
I mean, we'll get them in the system, so they'll be registered in our
Yeah.
system. We'll be getting access to their PCRs. We'll have to work with the state to make sure that they're pushed into the, mountain lakes.
Yeah, yeah.
where
I'm
we
sure they will be
see-
operating fine at an ALS level. I mean, they're not newcomers to this business.
He said he's probably not making it. They just finished with the St. Peter's.
All right, okay,
We quickly turned into Montreal.
yeah. All right.
And that's all I have. If nobody has any questions for me. I guess that, you know, if there are locations that might work better, let me know and we can set up a third location if you think that'll help get docs here. So please think about it. Again, whatever the location is, I have to be able to post it and make it accessible to the public.
This one works fine. And just to get back, John Broderick did text me back. He still is interested in staying on the committee. He'll be at the next meeting, so he says. So just before we cross him off.
Great.
No, we didn't cross it any more off, so we're actually gonna do the attendance. And I mean, we know those people haven't been here. Yeah, we didn't work with them, so they'll get notified that they have not met the attendance requirements and that we need to hear by them by such a date what their intention is. And if they don't respond to us, then we'll boot them off.
Yeah, and we can update the attendance requirement at the next meeting, which has a quorum.
It seems like 2 hours.
We haven't even consummated the agreement.
One meeting every 12 months or what?
Yeah, we can decide that when we have a quorum and sort that, exactly, yeah. These.
Again, everybody's getting back on their feet, so.
Zach and Ann, please put the minutes out within
It's,
Can we please put the minutes out this week? So within a week of the meeting, can you just publish the minutes, please? And then just republish them before we have the next meeting?
Can you give us 2 weeks?
They're not typed like now. Like I just typed my minutes real time.
I don't think Zach's typing in real time.
You don't type in real time, Zach? I thought you were.
Right, so the transcript and the recording, we could use the transcript and the recording, right?
Yeah.
So just so you also know, the meetings are posted on our website a couple days afterwards. So,
Yeah,
and
so
I'm
the video should
sorry.
be up tomorrow. The video should be up on the website probably tomorrow or Wednesday. I'll convert it tomorrow and then it'll probably get posted by Jonathan Wednesday. So that
I'm
should
gonna watch
at
the
least be
video.
online.
I'm not watching the video. I was at the meeting.
Yes.
Right, Doug's
But
not
yeah,
gonna watch
I
the
mean,
video.
I can,
I don't know what you missed.
I'll do it, yeah, I mean. I'll do what I can to get them done.
So of the meeting,
We
right?
can
Because
shoot
this
for a
is what
week.
happens. We meet, right? People get fired up and we have ideas and there's friction up here, right? People watch these meetings. And then it all fizzles and 3 months later, we have another meeting and we've lost our momentum. But if we publish our minutes within a week or so of the meeting, then we don't lose quite as, we can recapture a little bit of that, right? And people can make suggestions for the next meeting while they're still thinking about it. And well, we haven't lost that. So my request for you guys is please, do up the minutes and put them out ideally within a week of the meeting so that people can suggest topics for the next meeting and we can keep going forward. So I feel like we really lose a lot of steam in between meetings and then we talk about things and get revved up again and then we lose it again. And I don't want to have more meetings. None of us need more meetings, but we do need more electricity.
Normally they're out way before they were this time. My apologies for that.
Sorry, that's not what it's.
It's okay. Man. We all go along. We all do.
It's good, bad.
But you got to do them sooner or later. So probably just.
Yeah, and I mean, they're usually done. Don't you have them done, Zach? Usually in about a couple weeks, 3 at the most.
Yeah,
3 weeks
I
is
can look
fine.
and see when last times were put out, but yeah, it's been pretty.
Just don't send them out. So we'll get them out as soon as we
Right?
can.
Send them out, and that way people can keep us motivated. Okay.
My nagging doesn't keep you motivated.
Well, you keep me motivated, but I shouldn't be the only motivated person you got around.
She's saying I
That's not
should nag all of you, just so you know. She said it.
Yeah. Okay, motion adjourned.
Yeah. Motion second, third.
And this was really helpful having 2 sites.
Yeah.
So let's please keep
Right.
doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, this site works well for, well, us who are here, certainly, yes.
Oh, as long as they will let us, we will. So I want to just, before we all end, a huge thank you to them for allowing you to meet there.